For the New York State AFL-CIO, I'm Darcy Wells, and this is Union Strong.
I'm proud.
I'm proud.
I am proud.
I'm proud to be Union Strong.
To be Union Strong. Be Union Strong.
Be Union Strong.
I'm a teacher, and I'm Union Strong.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Developing news this noon, nurses at Albany Medical Center are once again voicing their concerns about what they call unsafe and unfair staffing practices. As you know, we've been covering the story for many months now.
Nurses represented by the New York State Nurses Association are in a contract fight at Albany Medical Center Hospital. One of the key issues is over staffing levels, which they say are critically low. They've been bravely speaking up about it to raise awareness.
We're currently having a staffing crisis at Albany Med, and we don't have enough nurses to care for patients effectively, safely, and well.
We have to close areas of the emergency department because we can't staff them. That means more patients having care in hallways, in emergency room stretchers, not hospital beds. It means poor outcomes because a higher number of patients for a lower number of nurses.
Now, as the nurses try to advocate for patient safety, some say they're being intimidated by management, who they say want to silence them. We sat down with one of those nurses to hear her experiences firsthand. Jen, can you start by just introducing yourself?
My name is Jennifer Bejo. You can call me Jen. I've been with Albany Med for almost 19 years. This February, I work at the medical ICU. It's an adult critical care. And I've worked there, from the time that I arrived from the Philippines.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what your experience is as far as staffing at Albany Med?
It's been like an ongoing problem, which it pretty much, comes from the fact that the hospital, Albany Med, is totally not able to keep the nurses at the bedside.
And why do you think that is?
First off, it's a lot of work. With lesser pay, not a lot of benefits and credits to give to the nurses to come in and work extra. People are burned out. Mm-hmm. It became so bad when during pandemic and after that, mm-hmm. A lot of people left. There's no incentive to train people to stay for several years in the hospital. There's not a lot of support to, not a lot of skilled nurses, seasoned nurses to be around to precept and orient newer nurses. So the skills and teachings are very minimal. Mm-hmm. And if you throw these newer nurses to a working situation that is not safe, they will leave.
Mm-hmm. So you're seeing a lot of turnover there?
There's a lot of turnovers over the years. There's a lot of vacancies that are not being filled up because nobody wants to come into work.
Talk to me a little bit about the contract, the lack of the contract, and that contract fight. Is the staffing issue the number one issue, or is it come down to pay in order to recruit and retain other nurses, or maybe it's probably all tied together?
I believe it's all tied. You're correct. It's all tied together. We've always, taken staffing as the core issue of our contract negotiations. And it boils down to the fact, okay, if we're going to, recruit and retain, nurses, what does it entails? That's going to be, wages, benefits, retirement pay, premium pay, to come in, extra, extra shifts, extra work, retirement pay, longevity bonuses. The longer the hospital should be able to incentivize people and, give them credit for staying, for so many years,
mm-hmm.
In the hospital, a flexibility, in working hours.
Just fair treatment, it sounds like, better working
Correct.
Conditions. And then, so if they don't have nurses on staff, then they go to the traveling nurses?
They will. They always will because it's bigger pay. And
they get premium pay, right?
Correct. And that's the issue right now is that the hospital is, like they always like say that they don't have money, and they always like voice it out that, that we have to be financially like, responsible. There's not a lot of like money, and that's why, like we're, like limiting our, like our, like
The offer, yep.
the offer in our contract. But then we just like found out they just shell out like a large sum of money for traveling agencies, for traveling nurses. And that's like, the biggest, like fight right now is that you have to, like it's the hospitals like not valuing, like our contributions and our great work, that we'd always do like in the hospital.
Yeah, it feels like you're just not being recognized for that and for staying on and being loyal to the hospital.
Correct.
And so for them to go outside and pay someone more.
Yeah.
Right. That's totally understandable. So at this point, what's the feeling among the nurses? I mean, you feel confident because you're doing this interview that you can speak out. But I was hearing that that's maybe not always the case. What is that feeling like right now of nurses who maybe want to step up or can't step up? Does that fear exist?
From the very beginning, I've always been involved with the union, and I have witnessed the brutal, impact, the brutal force of the anti-union campaign of Albany Med. Like us nurses, like, at the bedside, we advocate for our patients, and, all management have always, like, done everything in their power to silence our voice. Like at the workplace, we're being targeted. A lot of our union leaders are being targeted. We're being kicked out, like at the bridge if we do like our leafletting. We cannot, like, talk and, share information to our colleagues. We can talk about everything else, not just about the union. And, like on the point of like, being targeted, being singled out, all these like newer nurses, like, are scared, like they grow these like scare tactics, like just to prevent people from speaking up. They always, like take our union as a third party. This is not a third party or like an outside group. NYSNA is not an outside group. NYSNA is the nurses. We are the union, and we are the ones like who are always like, speaking up for the sake of our patients. And I cannot blame, like the nurses like being scared. They wanted to protect their job. And I hope it's not that way, and I hope that, we can turn it, like around instead of like being scared and just be bold enough to like, say something regardless. I just, I just remember like at the very first contract fight that we had, I was one of those like who was targeted. I was invited like, by management for a meeting, and they prepared like a corrective action for me to like sign, because apparently I was like going around every single unit. I was talking to my nurses, and they spin it off as something like bad, that I'm being pushy, like don't
rock the boat.
Yeah, don't rock the boat, and don't force yourself, like, talking to these nurses because they're supposed to be working, and, don't be a bully. I mean, like things like that, they spin it off like into something different that, like shows that the union is the bad person. So what happened is that, with the corrective action, they wanted me to sign. I refused to sign. I said, like, that's not me. I'm not going to sign that. And so they could not force me to like sign it. So when I step out, there was like a long line of nurses, NYSNA nurses outside the meeting room, just there and waiting for like the decision. And, they were behind me. They were supporting me. And that gave me like that kind of like feeling that, wow, I'm invincible. Nobody can touch me. I mean, like, if nurses just like, if these nurses are behind me, I can do anything. I am powerful. And I just recently like told that story because a lot of these nurses does not absolutely know the power that they have, the power of like being together, the power of standing together and fighting together. They do not have the clue that the power is in their hands. And I just wanted them to know that it happened to it can happen to everybody, being targeted and being watched and monitored by management, and being attacked, in every different ways. And, it's overwhelming sometimes, but, I wanted them to know that you are not alone. We are not alone in this fight. Everybody is standing up with us and fighting with us. We have a lot of support. And I hope that, they know that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's great that they have you doing this right now. And I can imagine that must have felt great when you came out of that meeting and saw that.
It was so great. It was so great. And even now, I have this thing, this feeling of that was the most important, act of solidarity that I've seen, in my whole life of being, in the union.
Well, you're fighting for all the right things. I mean, safe staffing levels is obviously critical to patient care.
Yes.
And especially what we saw after the pandemic, losing so many people to that profession. And it's tough to go back. You guys were in it throughout, and we really appreciate that. Yeah. And you should know that, all of labor is here for you.
Have I been here to speak about the nurses' struggle against Albany Med? I believe this is 60th round. We can win. You gotta stick together. You gotta keep doing things like this. And we gotta say, enough! Enough!
In a show of solidarity, the New York State AFL-CIO recently hosted a roundtable discussion on the staffing issues at Albany Medical Center Hospital to give NYSNA nurses a chance to share their personal experiences with community members and labor advocates.
My name is Mario Salento. I'm the president of the New York State AFL-CIO. This is the House of Labor. And what that means is we have 2.5 million of your brothers and your sisters and your family members of the labor movement throughout the state. It's 3,000 unions under our umbrella, from Buffalo to Long Island and everywhere in between. So when we join in here today, it's taking the next step to say what you're dealing with and what you're going through from this point forward. You're not going to have to do that alone.
We are so grateful. We so appreciate all it's very symbolic of how union stand together.
Well, I appreciate you telling us your own experiences there inside the hospital. It's so important. So anybody watching or listening to this, is there something that members of the community or other unions can do for you to show their support?
Yeah, so you can actually visit, there's our campaign website, and it's albanymedqualitycare.org. The community can learn more about our issues, and there's a petition that you guys can also sign to help support Albany Med nurses and help us keep fighting, and hopefully will help us get our contract.
Good. Yes, we will definitely help get the word out. And I don't know if your shirt is visible, but it says "We are unstoppable." I love that.
We are.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jen, and best of luck to you.
Every day that goes by without a fair contract will only cause patient care at our hospital to further decline. We won't stop advocating for our patients because we know it's the right thing to do. So we need your help.
Joining me now on the podcast is our Director of Digital Strategy, Liz O'Neill. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Darcy.
Boy, that was a great story of unity that she shared with us, isn't it? When she talked about being in the room and walking out.
What an amazing example of the power of a union. I had chills. It was awesome.
I felt the same way. And so hopefully that's the kind of story we want to get out to give these other nurses who are feeling, intimidated, fearful, that courage to speak up, because that's what it's all about, is having that voice in the workplace.
Exactly.
And she talked about how people can help out, people who want to support the nurses.
Yeah, absolutely. So just follow us, New York State AFL-CIO, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. We're all over the place. But also in our show notes, I'll put the link to that website that the union has put together that has all the resources and how folks can help support these nurses.
Okay. And I know, we automatically do that as union members, but anyone else watching or listening, it really makes a difference if you either write a letter to the paper or contact Albany Med directly to show your support. I know that they would really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Darcy.
This has been a production of the New York State AFL-CIO. Our president is Mario Salento. Our secretary-treasurer is Terry Melvin. We're a federation of 3,000 unions representing 2.5 million union members, retirees, and their families, with one goal: to raise the standard of living and quality of life of all working people. We keep New York State unions strong by fighting for better wages, better benefits, and better working conditions. For more information on the labor movement in New York, visit NYSAFLCIO.org. Until next time, stay union and stay strong.